All right, time for another deep dive, everyone. And get this, today we're diving into the world of an import-export manager,
Oh, really? What kind?
the kind that specializes in the good stuff. We're talking coffee, tea, cocoa, spices, you name it. Imagine, like, instead of just enjoying that morning coffee,
You're the one making sure it gets here.
exactly. We're talking sourcing beans from, who knows, Colombia, negotiating deals, navigating the whole global trade thing.
Sounds a lot more adventurous than my usual spreadsheets.
Right. And for this deep dive, we've got some intel from RoleCatcher to guide us.
Those career guides they have are seriously impressive.
No kidding. So first things first, what does an import-export manager in this world actually do all day?
Well, they definitely don't just sit around sipping tea. Think of it more like orchestrating a global network,
Okay, I'm picturing a conductor with a tiny spoon instead of a baton.
basically. One day they might be negotiating with a supplier in Vietnam, and the next they're deciphering EU regulations for cocoa imports.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Global supply chain symphony.
Exactly. And just like a conductor needs to know their music, these managers need to be fluent in things like Incoterms.
Inca what now?
Incoterms. They're like the rule book for international shipping. They determine who's responsible for what costs and risks, like insurance, customs, even transportation.
So if those Vietnamese coffee beans are sailing across the ocean,
The Incoterms decide who's handling everything once they hit the port.
wow, this is already more complicated than I thought, and we haven't even gotten to the actual coffee tasting.
Right, and that's just one example. RoleCatcher actually mentioned this crazy situation. Imagine a typhoon delays your shipment of tea leaves from Sri Lanka.
Oh no, my precious tea.
Exactly. Suddenly, you're scrambling for alternate routes, renegotiating contracts, all while making sure those delicate tea leaves don't get ruined in transit.
Talk about high pressure. So we're not just talking about a love for coffee or tea here. We're talking serious adaptability skills, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially with all the curveballs that international trade can throw your way. And then there are the ever-changing consumer trends. But we'll get to those later.
Okay, so we've established that this job is not for the faint of heart. High stakes, global connections, constant problem solving. Definitely not your average desk job. But RoleCatcher also paints a picture of the allure. What are some of the perks that come with navigating this complex world?
Well, picture this. You're finally sipping that perfect cup of Ethiopian yirgacheffe.
Right.
Right. But it's not just any cup.
Oh, I get it. It's like you appreciate it even more.
Exactly, because you were the one who navigated the whole journey, from sourcing those unique beans to overcoming any hiccups along the way.
Okay, yeah, that's got to be satisfying.
Right.
But beyond the occupational perks, what else makes this career path so appealing?
Well, RoleCatcher really dives into the multifaceted nature of the work itself.
Multifaceted, huh? So it's not all exotic travel and coffee tastings.
Definitely not. One
Yeah.
day you might find yourself, knee-deep in customs paperwork.
Oh, no, not paperwork.
It's part of the job. You're deciphering tariff codes, making sure those spices are classified correctly, the whole 9 yards.
Tariff codes. Seriously, there's a secret language for spices, too.
Oh, absolutely. Each one has its own code that affects import duties and taxes. It's actually pretty important.
Wow, okay, so I'm sensing a theme here. Complexities upon complexities.
But then the next day, you could be putting on your negotiation hat, hammering out a deal with a cocoa bean supplier in Ghana.
Okay, now that sounds more like it. So it's like a choose-your-own-adventure career.
Exactly. It's dynamic, it's global, and honestly, for the right person, that variety is what makes it so exciting.
All right, I'm sold. But let's say someone listening is like totally hooked on this import-export roller coaster. What are the key skills RoleCatcher says you need to thrive in this world?
Well, they actually have this fantastic breakdown of essential skills. They even suggest specific degree subjects that could give you an edge.
Okay, so while a passion for coffee and tea is great, it's not enough.
Passion's a good starting point, but you need a strong understanding of international trade laws,
Right.
payment methods like letters of credit, even cargo insurance, that kind of thing.
So it's one thing to know your Darjeeling from your oolong, but knowing how to actually get them across borders is a whole other story.
Precisely. And while that technical knowledge is essential, RoleCatcher really stresses the importance of the human element too.
Okay, so we're talking people skills.
Exactly. You're the bridge between cultures. So communication, negotiation, those are crucial. Imagine negotiating a contract with a tea plantation in Japan, for example.
Okay, I'm edging.
You have to understand their business etiquette, which might be completely different from, say, Brazil.
It's like the same dance, different steps depending on where you are.
That's a great way to put it. It's not just about speaking the language. It's about understanding the nuances of business in that culture.
This career really does have it all. So we've got analytical skills, cultural intelligence, anything else.
Oh, definitely. Let's not forget about problem solving under pressure. RoleCatcher mentions this scenario. Imagine an unexpected frost damages the vanilla crop in Madagascar.
Uh-oh, that's not good. Vanilla ice cream is doomed.
Right. And suddenly you're dealing with a supply shortage, price hikes, and probably some very unhappy pastry chefs.
Sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Exactly.
Mm.
But being able to think on your feet, find new sourcing options, maybe even tap into your network to secure those vanilla beans, that's what sets a truly exceptional import-export manager apart.
Okay, so we've established that this isn't your typical 9 to 5. It's dynamic, it's global, it requires a unique set of skills. But let's say someone's listening to this and thinking, all right, I'm in. How do I even break into this field? Well, luckily, RoleCatcher has some thoughts on that.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
They're big on getting practical experience, even if it's not, your dream job right away.
Makes sense. Get your foot in the door.
Exactly. So think internships in import-export departments, maybe volunteering for a fair trade organization.
Oh, or even just working part-time in a spice shop.
Right. Anything to get a feel for the industry.
And they also say it's never too early to start networking.
True. Got to build those connections.
Like go to industry events, connect with people on LinkedIn.
Even just reaching out for an informational interview, right?
Exactly. You never know what doors might open.
Okay, so you've got some experience. You're networking like crazy. What about actually climbing the ladder in this field? Any tips from RoleCatcher on that?
They're all about continuous learning, like going for a specialized MBA in international trade, maybe,
Oh, fancy.
or even just getting some industry certifications.
Yeah.
Things like the Certified Global Business Professional, that kind of thing.
Shows you really know your stuff.
Right. And it's not just about it's about being able to actually show it.
Okay, so how do you do that? How do you stand out in a stack of resumes?
RoleCatcher suggests really showcasing your accomplishments. Like,
Huh.
did you help a company navigate some crazy customs issue? Did you negotiate a killer sourcing agreement? Highlight those wins.
Love it. So it's not bragging if it's true.
Exactly. Make sure your resume tells the story of your impact.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about everything from deciphering Incoterms to showcasing your accomplishments. And it's clear that being an import-export manager for coffee, tea, cocoa, and spices, that's not just a job.
It's a wild ride
Yeah,
in the best way possible.
absolutely. It's dynamic, it's global, and it's only getting more complex with things like climate change and e-commerce.
Oh, right. We didn't even get to talk about those global trends in detail.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show you this field is constantly evolving.
For sure. And for anyone listening who's up for the challenge, it seems like a pretty amazing career path, wouldn't you say?
100%. It's a chance to be a part of something truly global, to make a real impact, and of course to work with products people love.
And if you're ready to dive in head first, RoleCatcher has your back with all the resources you need.
Seriously, those guys thought of everything.
All right, deep divers, that's a wrap for today. We've explored the ins and outs of being an import-export manager in the world of coffee, tea, cocoa, and spices. And let me tell you, it's a career that's full of surprises.
And caffeine, don't forget the caffeine.
That too. But as we sign off, here's a little something to think about. If you were calling the shots in this industry, what would your strategy be for navigating the challenges of tomorrow? Would you focus on sustainability, e-commerce, something else entirely? Let us know your thoughts, and until next time, happy deep diving.